Good afternoon, Western Washington, and happy Friday. I'm Matthew Fab with Western Washington Weather, and today we're going to take a look at the upcoming potential thunderstorm chances and then the upcoming heat wave into September after that. And we'll also revisit the August 29th, 2015 summer windstorm 10 years later. So starting here with the satellite imagery, you can see we have some scattered clouds across parts of Western Washington today, getting partly sunny in some places, but likely staying in the 70s for most areas with clouds. However, we may get some low 80s across parts of the area. We got some marine clouds along the coast, and then take a look at all these thunderstorms across northeast Washington, parts of Idaho and Montana, and British Columbia there. So definitely some thunderstorm activity, but not really very much in the Cascades today, except very far north here, though we may get some a little bit later today as some of these clouds move through the area. Taking a look at the radar here, you can see where all those thunderstorms are happening from BC here down toward northeast Washington, Idaho Panhandle into Montana, and then some in Oregon as well, but pretty calm across western Washington and the Cascades as we go into this afternoon. Now, taking a look at the European model, looking at our overall pattern here, again, this upper level low is offshore, but because it's not really coming onshore very much at all, it's not going to bring us any widespread thunderstorm event or really any thunderstorms in the lowlands at all. So you can see it just kind of hangs out offshore all the way through Monday and then starts to move away as this ridge builds in from the southwest U.S., and that is going to bring in a heat wave. We're going to have temperatures likely in the 80s to 90s here going into next week, through the middle to end of next week there. You can see that ridge persists all the way through Thursday into Friday, and then we may start to enter a different pattern, but that's a little bit more uncertain at this time. So taking a look at the national blend of models, looking at high temperatures here for Labor Day weekend, you can see today mostly sunny. In areas that are mostly sunny, highs will likely be in the upper 70s to mid 80s there. Areas that don't get mostly sunny will likely be in the mid to upper 70s, and then on the coast, highs in the mid to upper 60s. Going into Saturday, though, we will be a little bit sunnier for some places, but also having a lot of clouds moving through. Highs generally in the mid 70s to low 80s across the region. Coast in the mid 60s to low 70s. And then almost exactly the same thing on Sunday there, mid-70s to low 80s across the region, mid-60s to low 70s on the coast. And then on Labor Day there, we warm up a little bit, but highs again in the mid-70s to low 80s, maybe mid to upper 80s there for southwest Washington and Portland, and then upper 60s to low 70s on the coast there on Labor Day. But as Labor Day weekend ends, that ridge starts to build in and those temperatures warm up quite a bit. From Tacoma northward there on Tuesday, highs likely in the low to mid 80s, except near the water in the upper 70s. And then from Tacoma southward, highs in the mid to upper 80s, low 90s around Portland to Vancouver, and then the coast in the upper 60s to mid 70s. Take a look at Wednesday, though. Those temperatures skyrocket across parts of the metro area, with highs from Seattle northward likely in the low to mid 80s, maybe some upper 80s in the mountain valleys and the foothills, upper 70s near the water. And then from Seattle southward, highs in the mid 80s to low 90s, especially from Olympia southward to Portland, with highs in the low to mid 90s, 95 showing up there in Portland and Vancouver. And then on the coast, highs in the low to mid 70s with a little bit of offshore flow. Going into Thursday, we warm up even more. Seattle northward in the low to mid 80s, potentially some upper 80s in the valleys. From Seattle southward, highs in the upper 80s to low 90s. A little bit cooler near the water and near downtown, but generally upper 80s to low 90s, mid 90s from Longview southward there, and then the coast again in the upper 60s to mid 70s. Going into Friday, the coast starts to cool down. The whole area really starts to cool down as we go here, with the ridge starting to weaken a little bit. However, this has been moving back and forth. Some forecasts show Friday being a little bit warmer than what this one is showing, but generally we can expect Seattle southward in the mid to upper 80s on Friday, and then Seattle northward in the upper 70s to low 80s, and then upper 60s to low 70s on the coast, and then upper 80s around Portland and Vancouver there on Friday. And then going into next Saturday, a week out here, so this may change, but we will likely start to cool down back into the 70s. So stay tuned for more on this with this upcoming September heat wave. It's getting more and more anomalous in terms of how far our temperatures will be above average, especially with a heat wave into September. So stay tuned for more on that. Taking a look at lightning flash density here, you can see this afternoon potentially some storms in the Cascades, but widely scattered, especially storms focused in northeast Washington and not the Cascades as much. Going into Saturday there, you can see just a few storms potentially in the central Cascades, and then they weaken by evening, so not all that much, but they could potentially bring some thunderstorms. You can see Sunday afternoon there, we get some storms along the Cascades again, and maybe in the Olympics as well. and then those weaken into the evening. Then take a look at late Sunday into Monday there. Some of these storms more on the west side of the Cascades. As that upper level low starts to pull away, these may leak out into the lowlands. We have to kind of wait and see here. You can see as we go into very early Monday morning, you're looking at like 2 to 5 a.m. here. Some of these storms start to leak out over the lowlands a little bit, and we'll have to watch this kind of to see what the Monday morning forecast brings. But you can see on the European model right now how some of those storms may impact the metro area, but it's very uncertain still. Got to wait for the higher resolution forecast. Going into Monday afternoon, you see a little bit in the North Cascades, but not that much. Then going into Tuesday, as it gets sunny, we got that ridge building here. We do start to get some potential thunderstorms in the Cascades, again in the central Cascades there, and more potential for fire starts there going even into Tuesday and Wednesday there. You can see Wednesday, decent chance in the Olympics as well as the central Cascades. So we definitely have a lot of fire potential coming up with all of this lightning. And taking a look at that right now, actually, you can see all these new fire starts, especially right here between US 12 here near White Pass and Mount Rainier up towards Stevens Pass here. About 5 new fires that started just in this area yesterday with some persistent thunderstorms moving through. Bear Gulch fire over here near Hood Canal at 9,000 acres, and then a few fires that have started in the North Cascades as well. So we're definitely getting some more fires, especially between Mount Adams and Mount St. Helens up toward the Canadian border here. So this you can see the area where the thunderstorms have been active here, and we'll likely see this continue as we get more thunderstorms going here into the next few days with not very much precipitation alongside them. So taking a look at smoke, you can see the Emigrant fire in southeast of Eugene, their Central Oregon Cascades, is really been the one that's producing a lot of this smoke aloft. Smoke aloft clears out across western Washington tonight into Saturday morning, but then you can see as we go into Saturday midday, that smoke out of Oregon just pushes right back in here, and we get some moderate to heavy smoke aloft as we go into Saturday evening, and you can see that just continues across the area all the way into Sunday morning. Heavy smoke aloft at times here all the way through the day Sunday, and that is where this ends, 11 a.m. Sunday, and you can see moderate smoke aloft across all of western Washington and western Oregon, and even eastern Washington too, all off this large fire in south central Oregon there. And then taking a look at the high resolution rapid refresh smoke near the surface, you can see that little bit we have clears out here across western Washington into early tomorrow morning, and then we remain mostly clear of any surface smoke. Surface smoke will likely be a little bit east of the mountains there, and then in Oregon as well, and nothing really happening with surface smoke in western Washington, which is good to see. And then taking a look at air quality, we're starting to clear out a little bit as we go through the day today. You can see generally from Puget Sound westward, that is air quality in the good category. Puget Sound eastward, we're still pretty stagnant with that air quality in the moderate category. And going down into eastern Oregon, actually, you can see how we go into southwest Washington and parts of eastern Oregon, you see where that fire is and where that smoke is blowing toward Bend and Redmond and Madras and Prineville there. So there's definitely some areas of bad air quality, but thankfully that is staying away from western Washington at this time. And then taking a look at the European model, you can see the 3 days here on the ensembles that we've been watching that could be hot, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You can see those days showing up right here with some decent ensemble agreement there in terms of high temperatures, and then a bunch of ones scattered out here that show some more high temperatures being possible here as we going into mid-September. The chance of highs in the 80s is still very possible there, but it looks most likely the 80s to low 90s would be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of next week, so keep that in mind. And then wanted to point this out, released yesterday, the newest drought monitor map. The entire state is either in moderate drought, severe drought, or extreme drought. The metro area is in extreme or in severe drought there, D2, and then parts of the Cascades and then southeast Washington in the extreme drought category. So not good to see this for the entire state with still some of the dry season yet to come. So it's going to take a lot of rain to get this all away, but we do have decent likelihood of getting rid of most of this drought as we go into the rainy season here into the fall and winter. So stay tuned for more on that over the next few months. And now looking at this, it's been 10 years since the deadly August summer windstorm on August 29th, 2015. You can see this is a photo there. This is an article from mynorthwest.com. And I wanted to take a look at what this storm actually was. So you can see this is the European model reanalysis here, and we're looking at August 29th, 2015 at 4 a.m. here. And then you see as we went through the morning there, this low center, 990 millibars, paralleling the Washington and Oregon coast. You never see this in summer, and it was just an extraordinary event in terms of if it had ever happened before. Look, as we go into midday, you got almost a double barrel low here, and you had that pressure gradient behind it. That is what moved right up across parts of Puget Sound and the Washington coast, the Oregon coast, and then really slammed parts of British Columbia as well. And that resulted in the largest power outage in the history of BC Hydro, which is the power provider for most of British Columbia. They had over 700,000 customers out of power in that August windstorm. PSC had quite a lot of folks out, as well as some of the other Western Washington utilities. You can just see that pressure gradient there as that storm moved north across Western Washington and up into Vancouver Island and Haida Gwaii. Just an extraordinary thing that has never happened before or since in terms of a very strong August windstorm. And then we had gusts with that storm up to 50 to 60 miles per hour across Puget Sound, and then 60 plus miles per hour from Everett northward and on the Washington coast and into parts of British Columbia. So just extraordinary, something we have never seen since, and it was just extremely rare. It does stand out in the minds of a lot of people, especially us weather folks around here, just of how extraordinary of an event that was. So this is a new graphic here. I know I talk about this every day, but just wanted to make a new graphic, make it a little bit easier to read. So be sure to subscribe to Western Washington Weather on YouTube, follow the Western Washington Weather Facebook group, and then follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky. The links to all of these are in the description below, and be sure to subscribe. We just reached 1,400 subscribers, and I'm very thankful to all of you who have subscribed and who are following along, and I hope that even more people will continue to subscribe here as we go into the storm season over the next few months, and I cannot wait to continue making content and keeping you guys all updated. So thank you all very much for watching. Stay tuned for more information over the next few days, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.